Have you ever, don't worry, don't raise your hand or show of hands, have you ever met someone who would say things like, I love humanity? A very general statement. But when you get to the particular, do you like that part of humanity? Do you like your neighbors? They'll say, I hate people. I can't stand people. The tale that the Master tells today relates a little bit to that situation. This parable, as you've heard many times here, is a heavenly truth in earthly language. You can see that there's a moral element to this tale, there's a Christological element to this tale, and there's a warning. But first, obviously, the moral meaning. If anyone has gone to therapy or any sort of life coach or betterment, one of the most common exercises they do is they'll take a piece of paper and they'll draw 3 concentric circles. The outer one is a big one. This is society. This is things on the limit of our understanding, but also the most generic. When people try to say, let's crusade against climate change, okay, it's very general. Let's crusade against poverty itself, okay, that's very general. Those are good things. But we can't really do too much about those things. We don't have an effect on them. The next circle is things like our friends, our local community, things that we actually have more to affect, more to change, but still, we can't do everything. You can't change most things. Try to tell your spouse, I'm going to change you. See what happens. But then, the circle in the middle is like a dot, and that little dot is all of us. That is our immediate surroundings and the things that we have the most control over. The things where we can, sometimes within an hour's time, actually make some difference. Well, for the parable, the rich man, we're only told he feasts lavishly, he has all the good things in life. For all we know, he was concerned about very generic things as well. Yes, I want, make Judea great again, all these types of things. He could have had any one of them, he could have been involved. But the person in the closest proximity to him, someone who's dying at the gate to his property, he cares nothing for. And we know that this man isn't hid away when they're both in the underworld. He calls him Lazarus. He knows his name. He knows exactly who this man is. And still, he gives him nothing. The most important lesson of all, this rich man has failed, regardless of whatever else he may have done. For us, life is pretty rough. We might be tempted to identify ourselves with the poor man Lazarus. But if we're being brutally honest with ourselves, living in the United States, to the rest of the planet, we are the rich man. We might do a good many things, but we are that rich man. And the warning of this parable, we have to ask, who is the Lazarus? We need not ask, probably. Most of us already know their names. Most of us, even if it's not a matter of giving our wealth, our treasure, we can still give our time to people. There are people that need our time, people that might benefit from our talents. And so the Master, in telling this tale, one of the purposes is to have us ask the question. Jesus, when telling these parables, he's often playing a little joke on the people that want to hear them. Very often in the gospel, people will come to Jesus with a trick question. Who is my neighbor? Thinking they can get away with not being kind to those around them. And Jesus will say, yes, your neighbor is anyone you happen to be with. And so they're tricked. But the fathers of the church, when commenting on this passage, they see a Christological element in it, in that we often think of Christ mighty and exalted, but Some of the fathers say that Christ is the poor man. In the image of the poor, in the image of those who are suffering, these are the least of these that Christ speaks about. People who say, "Oh, Lord, when did I see you hungry? When did I see you naked? When did I see you afflicted?" In the least of these. If you did it to the least of these, he says you did it to me. But the analogy goes further still. Many of the fathers see a pattern in that Lazarus dies at the gate of the rich man's house. And Christ was crucified just outside the walls of Jerusalem. And so Christ is talking to his audience. He is calling them the rich man. And as a wounded Lazarus, he stands before them. And the fathers, when they talk of the dying man, it says that dogs come to lick his wounds. The analogy, they say, is the dogs are the Gentiles, the people that the house of Israel had outcast, had thought were not much better than wild beasts themselves, that these wild dogs came to in some way comfort Lazarus, and they licked his wounds. And if you lick something's wounds, you get a taste of their blood. And so for us, we need to comfort those who are suffering. And in doing so, it is directly linked with consuming the blood of the Master. They are one and the same. We cannot eat of his body and blood and then ignore our neighbor. Or cannot do good to our neighbor and then be inspired with a hunger to taste the body of the Master. And so this is a deep warning for all of us. If it can happen to the house of Israel, people who received divine revelation had all the prophets tell them everything that needed to be done, and they still, some ignored, some didn't pay attention. How much more for us? We have more than the prophets. We have more than a simple moral law. We have God revealed himself who died for us, and we are baptized into Christ. When the liturgy is over, we are not only dismissed as in, go away, see you next Sunday, but we are empowered by drinking Christ's blood and eating his body. We now become what he is by grace. And when we go out into the world to minister to the Lazarus in our lives, we do so as an emissary of God, so that when they receive the generosity, they're receiving it from God. And we too, when we comfort those who are suffering, we, in a small measure, lick the wounds of Christ and give him some measure of comfort. Even if the world reject us and call us dogs, let us at least lick the Master's wounds and receive the medicine of immortality, to go into the world and give the love of God to others. Glory to Jesus Christ.